Hi, I'm Joyce Kinmont, and today I would like to talk about math. This is our second math video. If you saw the first one, it was about Common Core math homework. And what I want to show you today actually is foundational to that video. So maybe we should have done it first, but here we are. If you saw the first video, you recognize these manipulative materials. We start with a unit. The first thing you do in working with manipulatives is you decide what you want to use for your basic unit block, or the thing that you're going to measure. And in these materials, it's most common to use this little 1 centimeter block, and that becomes a 1. So it goes in the ones column. And this then when you get 10 of these ones, and in other words, you accumulate these by adding or maybe multiplying, which is simply multiple adding. And when you accumulate 10, you take those 10, this is not 10 of course, but you take them to the supplier, which I have my 10 bars in here. I call it the bank. You might call it something else, but so you take your 10 to the bank and you come home with a 10 bar instead. And so you collect 10 bars. I'm going to put another unit down here. You collect 10 bars, and if you collect enough 10s, then you will go back to the bank with those. And so, you have 10, you go back to your bank or your warehouse or whatever you call it, come back with another 10 bar, or with 100 square. 10 bars will be equivalent to 100 square. Okay, so then you accumulate 100 bars also until you get a square, and I think there's 8 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this would be 10, and you can see totally equivalent to this 1,000 cube. So I'll take those away just for simplicity here. So you just keep trading up or trading down if you're subtracting, and you go ones, tens, hundreds, and then the 1,000 is again a cube. All right, we have our 1, our 10, our 1,000, our 100, and our 1,000, and I want to move these out here on the table a little bit so we can work with them better. And what I want to talk about is that we have actually punctuation in math. And one piece of punctuation is a decimal point. Where you have your unit, there actually is, it's almost like a period at the end of the number, but it actually signifies that we're going to keep going with numbers and they're going to get smaller. And so it's a decimal point. And the way it works is that we take this one, we sliced it into 10 pieces and it became that size. We sliced that into 10 and it became that size, and then we had our unit. And we can use anything we want for a unit. If we're using this for a unit and we wanted to make some decimals, some smaller ones, then smaller numbers, then we would have to slice this cube into 10 equal pieces. And each one of those slices would be a tenth. And then we might take one of those slices and make it, slice it into 10 pieces. And that one would be a 100th with the TH on the end. And then if we took one of those little pieces and sliced it into 10, if we could see it, it would be a 1,000 with the TH on the end. So that would be the way you would do that. So I explained to my grandchildren that we can use anything we want to be our 1. We could use an orange. And they giggled and thought that was really funny. So I said, sure, this is your 1. And if you wanted to have a 10, then you would get one of those little plastic from the produce section, one of those little plastic boxes, and put 10 oranges in it, and you'd have a 10 bar. And if you wanted to use the decimal, which I explained to them, then you would take your orange, or one of your oranges, and cut it into 10 pieces. This ball only has 8, but that gives you the idea. 10 equal pieces, and they would become your 1/10. And then if you wanted to take one of those pieces and slice it into 10 pieces, they would become your 1/100. And then if you took one of those pieces or more and sliced them into 10 equal parts, they would become your 1,000th, with the TH on the end. And they giggled and giggled over that thought. And of course what you have then is orange juice all over your floor and a very messy kitchen. What their giggles told me was that they have in their mind a picture of this orange being cut and recut and recut and a mess being made embedded in their mind, and it may stay with them and help them understand decimals, which is really a good thing. But now let's get practical. Because we can use any unit we want for or anything we want for our basic unit, why not use this big block, this 1,000 cube, and call that our 1? And then we continue with the proportions. So this would become 1/10. This would become 1/100th. And this would become 1,000. And so there you have a really practical way of doing decimals and showing it to your children. And also, this is an excellent way to introduce percentages, because you're based on 100% of something would be the total of this block. There are 100 little blocks in there. So 50% would be obvious. 20% would be 2 rows. So a very good introductory thing for that, for percentages. Okay, now I want to show you with numbers, just to be sure we've covered the place value sufficiently. What place value deals with is the groups of 3. We have 3, the hundreds, the tens, and the ones in this column, and we have the ones and the tens, the hundreds of thousands. These are units, these are thousands, and then it goes on to millions and so forth. So let me move this. So where we put the number 3, if we put it there, it's a 1. If we put it here, it's a 10,000. This would be 30,000 then. But only understandable if you put the zeros. So there's another one, another one, another one. And the punctuation for this is that between the units of 3 different columns, we put, so this is a little spread out, we put a comma, and that's our comma. And suppose we put an 8 here, so then we have 830 thousandths and nothing there. So let me move that a little closer so you can see it. And this is a comma, a representation of 830,000, I think. Or we could put the 3 here. We have 800,003. Okay, and I did some charts to explain these to, and I didn't do it for my grandchildren, I just did it for myself. And but they happened to come over and they loved these, and they read every one of these numbers, and then they read every one of these numbers. I just had a few more numbers in there to read. These have mostly zeros, so you could concentrate on the ones, the thousands, the millions, and the billion. And I put the decimals there. We really don't put decimals when we don't go on, but I just put them there. and that was of interest to them too. So if you would like a copy of these, I would be happy to email you one. Just drop me an email, and they're two different, and I'll send them to you in a Word document that you can edit, change colors, or do whatever you want differently with it. So, and that's good practice for reading off the numbers. Now, one last thing I would like to do here, and that is to suggest that even though we only go up to thousands with our manipulatives, maybe you would like to see what a 10,000 bar would look like. So I'm going to use the blue one. The ones you buy these days are blue. This is 100,000, or yeah, this is a 1,000. And my daughter has a set, so she actually has 3 of these. And that's probably as much as you really need. And after that, you can make cardboard ones if you want more. And I made cardboard ones years ago when I first started using these, and this one still survives. So you can do that out of cardstock. So maybe on a rainy day, and you get a whim, you might want to make a 10,000 bar, which would be the equivalent of this, okay, of a tens bar. And of course, this would be the equivalent of this cube. So a 10 bar. So if you wanted to make a 10 bar, all you would have to do is make 10 cardboard cubes of the right size. And I did that. And here is my 10 bar. And I taped all mine together so that I could keep it and show it to people as a indication of what a 10 bar, what size it would be, and that's why we don't use these in manipulatives usually. After you have done that, you might get a feeling for wanting to make a 100,000 square, which would be the equivalent of 100 square here, and it would be 100,000. So I didn't want to make that many. It would require me to make 100 of these cubes. 100,000 bar or square, I can show you the footprint so you can get an idea of how big that would be. Okay, now we have the 1, the 10, and the 100 of the ones. And then we have a 1,000 cube, a 10,000 bar, and we have the footprint here of a 100,000 square. And so you can picture this with 10 of these across it this way. And so that'd be a little chore to make 10 of those, or you can picture it this way across. But that's your square, your 100,000 square. And you actually, if you did want to make one of these, I made 10 boxes, and you could actually do 3 at a time. You could maybe even do 4 at a time if you did a little patching with your poster board. So that would save you a little trouble if you decided you wanted to do that. And if you wanted to make the 100 square, and you'd have to make 10 of them. And when you're done with that, would you send us a picture? It would be fun to see. And once you've done that, and if you've had a good time with your kids doing it, maybe on a rainy day or something, you may decide that you want to go for the next one, which would be a cube, and it would be 1,000,000. And if you did, then you would have to picture this and do it 10 times. If you wanted to keep your square, you'd have to do 10 times these square, 10 of them. And you would stack them up, and they would be this high. So that would be your 1,000,000, and it would be fun to see that this, be fun for kids to understand. This is 1, and this would be 1,000,000. Only thing is, I don't know where you would keep it, but how you would store it. But if you do, somebody may want to do the 1,000 cube. And if you do, please tell us your story, send us the picture. We'll put it on our website, and it would be fun to see. So thank you for watching, and have a good time with your kids with math. And please, please teach other people. It's so easy. Thank you. A cube has 6 sides. And so I have laid out, I've used my 100 squares, and I've laid out 6 pieces in a pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so you can kind of visualize how this would sit here, this will come up, and then this would come up to be the top, and then that would come to be the back, and then the 2 sides will fold up. I like to have a little bit of extra around when I cut out. There's a little extra back here, and then when I go to cut out, I will cut around here and up here and leave a little extra, because when you put 2 flat straight cut edges together, this is the first ones I made, and this is at least 20 years old. But it's a little harder, they don't stay as strong, and I think if you have a little fold there, that it'll probably give it a little more stability. It feels that way to me. So the way I do this is I need to have fold lines where I'm going to fold all the pieces. So I have to hold this really tightly and trace around it. And first I'm going to move those out and just trace around this one. And so I will hang on to this. And don't mind the bruise on my arm there. I lost a battle with a rose bush. I'm not a gardener. Okay, so if I press hard enough on this, it'll be easy to fold on these lines. Then I'm going to push this one away and put a line here, so it kind of scores it a little if I do it with a heavy hand. And I'll put one here. Okay, and then this cannot move. I have to hold this really tight so that I get the same orientation. And now, got to hold this all while I go around this side. So it's good to have somebody else to help you, but nobody here right now. So I'm going to score around this. And it'll be hard for you to see the lines because it's blue. And then I'm going to take these away and do my fold lines across here. I didn't do that one very well. And then this one already has it. Okay, so now I'm going to cut around, and if you can see that, and I will leave a little space, and then let me show you one I just did. Here is the same pattern, and now I've folded all the fold lines on all the fold lines, and where there's a corner, I've cut the corner off so that there's not too much bulk in there. Did this one a little more neatly. And on this corner, I just cut into the corner. So right there, cut in. And where there's just straight lines, then you just cut, make a little cut in there so that it can fold more easily. And then when you go to put them together, you really do need, or at least it's helpful to have somebody else with you. But you've got your 4 sides here. Let's see, let's do it this way. Put this together like this, and then you bring this one down, and one at a time you put tape on there, and that one in there first. And that's all there is to it. And there may be a better way. This is just the way I do it, and I can get at least 2 and maybe 3 out of one piece of poster board. So there you are. Have fun.